This is Come On You Reds, the international break edition. Gareth Wheeler alongside Mr. Harley Davidson himself. He is former Canadian international and TFC midfielder Terry Dunfield for another week of TFC Talk. We're going to review the 401 Derby, which was kind of settled a little bit too early for all of our liking. A number of TFC players off representing their countries on the international break, 6 of them in total. We'll tell you who and what faces them over the next week or so. And an always entertaining Academy update courtesy of that guy right over there, Terry Dunfield. How's your week, pal? How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm really good. I got my Man City mug going on this morning.
Of course. All you got to show is your face is the Man City mug. That's what it is.
I wish. No, I'm good. I think I ate too much last night. I got to the shops and I just picked out everything I liked. I had like sashimi. We had like a steak stir fry going on. We had wonton soup. I had a leftover chicken drumstick. So I had like 4 animals last night. So I'm feeling that this morning. Coming late from academy training.
You ate all of that at one sitting? And none of it goes with the rest. I feel it's just like a smorgasbord.
No, that was at like 9:30 at night too. So I'm feeling a little bit like, this morning. But
this is what you need to know about after the playing career of a footballer. This is what it looks like. Terry Dunfield living large. It should be a reality show after the game with Terry Dunfield.
That doesn't really come together, does it?
No, that's why you're probably feeling ill right now. And the transfer window is slammed shut, and good to see that you're still here. You haven't been sent off somewhere else.
No.
How things change. I think last week we recorded the podcast on Thursday. I woke up Friday morning and just my entire world changed from Cristiano Ronaldo joining Man City to him coming home, Viva Ronaldo, to Manchester United. And in fairness, Terry actually fired me a text and said, "Congrats, man, buzzing for you." That was nice of you, pal.
Yeah, no, I was gonna tweet actually our like chat, like our chat basically, and I wrote class, and you wrote, "I'm so happy right now." I wrote love, and you hated him yesterday, love him again. What a roller coaster.
Oh, it was such a roller coaster. So as a City fan, are you scared now? Ronaldo to United.
No, man.
Come on, they have to be in the mix. There's Galacticos there now.
Okay, so here's my take. Ronaldo's 36. He gets an extra year on his contract. He's the highest paid player in the world right now. You appease the fan base.
No, in the Prem. Like, hey, he's only making half of Messi. He's only making half of what Messi's making.
So it's like, hey, look over here. You've got Ronaldo. This is nice. Let's all forget about the Super League stuff that just happened. We have a nice feeling. But from a technical side, he's 36. Ronaldo isn't going to sit on the bench. He's got to play every game. How do you bring him, Bruno Fernandes, all the young guns up top, Greenwood, Rashford? I don't see how it comes together. And it feels good. It's nice in your heart. But I'm not so sure how it plays out.
Options, pal. Do you remember the group? Remember the group stage game against PSG last year? Martial missing sitters all over the place. Don't need to worry because Tony Martial is on the bench somewhere. You know, you have either Ronaldo or Cavani leading the line. Both players will probably need to be managed to a certain degree. Rashford's coming on off and off season. You need goals in the team, and that's something that he certainly brings.
But so last thing on that, there's Cockney slang for options. It's Cadbury's, because there used to be Cadbury's options at Christmas. Yeah. So everyone be, Cadbury's, mate. So we've got options up front. But do you have options? Because Ronaldo has to play. He's going to play every game. You can't say, hey, Ronaldo, mate, just sit on the bench.
Yeah, but he's going to have to by virtue of being 36. He's going to play most of the games. I think it'd be more of a concern about Cavani. And what we saw last season from Man City You boys just rotated your front six like the entire year. You even play with the number 9, but there was regular rotation where top players were coming off the bench. Raheem Sterling was coming off the bench for the vast majority of the season. So you need depth. You need players that can score goals. It's cliche. Goals change games. I'm fine with it. Now it's about Ollie making sure that the system around him is secure and there's structure there. And that's what some questions about, but certainly the talent of Ronaldo, Cavani, Pogba, Sancho, Rashford, Bruno, Harry Maguire, Shalberto Carlos at left back. There's quality in this team. I'd be nervous if I were you, pal. Get nervous.
I don't know. I don't know if it ends like, the gigs come back, the Paul Scholes come back, that equals trophy. I don't know.
This is Ronaldo, though. This is a guy who guarantees you 20 to 25 goals this season. Guaranteed. So plenty to look forward to. That's one thing. TFC right now could use some more options up front, some top options. Probably a few more options at the back, the way that things have been going. They're now winless in 7 after a 3-1, 4-1 derby loss to CF Montreal on Friday night. But really the game, Terry, was turned on its head in the 4th minute when Noble Okello was sent off. The first sending off, by the way, for Toronto FC since 2019. And the last time it was August of 2019. And Justin Morrow got sent off in the 89th. It's a lot different when you lose one of your central midfield players in the 4th minute. Let's maybe walk the listeners through what you saw on that sending off. I'm not sure if it's even debatable whether it was a sending off or not, and how that kind of turned the game on its head.
Yeah, I thought like the backstory coming into it's important. So we come off a tough result against Inter Miami. We played well against Atlanta. Probably didn't get the point that we deserved. Big picture under Perez, take away the Philly game in Inter Miami. We're actually doing okay and probably haven't gotten what we deserve. Noble Okello has been a bright spot. I think him playing in a 2, especially alongside somebody like Michael Bradley, is the position maybe Noble can have a career in. I didn't think he could be a 10. I'm not sure he can play a 6 on his own. So that double pivot role is something Perez has found that I think Noble Okello can really continue to build upon. And, to get that starting role, he's playing ahead of Marky Delgado. He's playing ahead of Osorio in there. So there's a little bit of pressure associated to that. You're also playing your rivals. So it's a big moment. It's a big game for Noble to basically get the nod in there. So I'd imagine for a guy who's a real cool customer, emotions are pretty high. You want to start the game well. And then this situation presents. It's TFC have Montreal walk on one side of the pitch. They come across. Noble's got his man. I believe he's with Piet. He decides to leave Piet, double team. It was the right decision. The ball's kind of sitting up around waist height. And I agree with Caldwell on it. He didn't need to make a play on it. I think in that moment, just stand up. He decides to raise his leg, doesn't get any of the ball, catches Wanyama. It looks worse than it is when you look back on it on TV. The initial camera angles, you don't see a whole bunch in it, and you're probably like, okay, yellow card's fine. When you look at it from the other side of the field, he basically just studs Wanyama in the thigh, and he has to go. But for a young player, he'll learn there. You don't need to make a play. If you just stand up, probably it turns into a duel of winning space rather than trying to take the ball away cleanly. He gets it wrong, and it's difficult for TFC now because on the back of being bottom of the league, on the back of a tough performance against Inter Miami, you have an absolute mountain to climb for 85 minutes. Noble feels like crap. He's just let his team down. And the context has changed severely, and everything you've worked on in training pretty much goes out the window.
Right. Noble wasn't even close. That's what surprised me about the challenge, is that the ball was away, and Noble's body size can be like, his best friend or his worst enemy.
Yeah, good point.
And it's kind of dealing with those moments in compact space, which possess a challenge. Like, how many times, like, I can envision Patrick Vieira in the middle of the park, and that's the best comparable I can think, because rangy, long in the middle of the park. In the 90s, there were plenty of challenges like that. The game might have been a little bit quicker too, that was being played in the Prem at that time, but he would come through in a very similar way. When I saw that turn, I just pictured Vieira doing the exact same thing. The problem was there's no tolerance for it now, and the ball was just too far away, because I don't even think Wanyama put a good touch on it. He kind of turned into Noble as well. So I agree with the sending off. And what's even more problematic than going down a man in 4 minutes for a team that really hasn't dealt with many players being sent off in recent vintage, you lose a central midfield player, and essentially you're left with 5 players who play in a defensive role, and 4 players who are playing attacking positions as well. So your entire balance is thrown off. Like, Richie Larea was on the field, but he wasn't playing as a defender. He wasn't going to be playing an outside on a 5. He had to tuck in. So did Achara. I don't think that he's a natural midfielder. Pozuelo is not a natural, traditional central midfield player. So then you're left exposed, wide open. So this aggressive starting 11 that Perez actually named comes back to bite you when you lose one of the key players, because Okello is the key cog in this team based on the role that he's asked to be played, isn't he?
Yeah, very much so. And you've now got 2 options. You can go 4-4-1, or you can go with a 4-3-2. And when you go with a 4-3-2, it's real important that you shift and get yourself in between the ball and the goal when you're defending. Maybe just the one thing that Okello maybe could have been let off with is it's accidental. It's not malicious. He doesn't mean to go through Wanyama, and the ref decided, you know what, there's enough in it. It's cleats up. I'm going to go by the textbook, and it's a red card. And I got a nice visual of Patrick Vieira. He was almost like an avatar in midfield with his long legs going everywhere. And yeah, man, that's a good comparison.
That's the dream when it comes to Okello, right? Is that he's allowed to harness that, and then you see it just click and come to life. I remember when we were calling TFC2 games, he played smaller than his body. And now I think that he's learned over the season how to actually use it as a weapon, play a little bit more expansive. So what I hope coming from this is that he doesn't kind of roll it back because of that incident, right? He just, like you said, Terry, uses it as a learning tool, and then goes on and still plays in that confidence. I get him right back into the team as soon as he's allowed to get back into the team.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's important. And that's, on the staff to just put your arm around him. It's important that Noble holds his hand up and say, sorry, guys, I let you down. But for sure, move forward. I don't think he needs to change his game. It's kind of cool. I've been lucky enough to watch when they were in market, the Raptors train a ton. And to your point, Nick Nurse speaks about it all the time. That players in and around the key use their size, use your length. And I think Noble intercepts a lot of passes that midfielders won't, just with his profile.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Toronto FC were up against it, conceded a cheap free kick. I think it was Omar Gonzalez stepped through a foul right on top of the area. It was the danger zone. Shaw played on target, Westberg saves, and it's Samuel Piette, of all players, just his second professional goal of all time. And he scored against the 2 Canadian teams, for crying out loud. But Piette caught Larea napping at that far post. It will drive a goalkeeper crazy. We've seen this on penalties in recent months for whatever reason in international and club football, just an attacking player getting there before a defender. Same thing goes if your goalkeeper's called to action, he makes a save. Your defenders need to be alert and ready to help you. And that certainly wasn't the case. That Westberg was left. Same thing happened in Miami as well. Westberg is being on it. Him and Bono played really well considering how many goals they've conceded on the year, but left hanging out to dry by his defenders there. And it's 1-0 and you're like, okay, what's going to happen next?
Yeah, it's he needed some backup from his mate there, didn't he? And when you go down to 10 men, you work so hard in open play to not concede. And it can almost band a team together and become brothers a little bit to get through that adversity. But sometimes what comes with that, and I've been there myself, is during a set piece, you maybe just switch off a little bit, and it's a time you can have a little bit of a breather. And the last thing you want to do when you're down a man and it can demoralize you is concede from a set piece. And a couple just switch off. I'm by no means a goalkeeping expert, but maybe Westberg can parry that a little bit wider. But it's a difficult one to concede. Yeah. But it didn't break the team's back. I thought the guys kept plugging away.
Well, the interesting change came in the 31st minute when Larea came out and Osorio came in. And that was just to basically provide balance in the middle of the park, right? Like, yeah, the only other options in terms of what Perez could have done, he could have taken off Achara, he could have taken off Pozuelo, he could have taken off Soteldo. Was that the right move to make, taking off Larea at that time?
It's a tough one because you're now 1-0 down. I think you want your teeth, you want your star power out there. And those players, as we saw later in the match, can turn a game in a second. And you now need a goal. I think if I'm John Herdman, I'm okay with that, because now coming into Honduras, Oso gets close to an hour. Richie's got to run out. So those guys come in with a little bit of match rhythm.
Yeah. And like you said, TFC with that structure and with halftime coming, they kind of rode their luck to the end of the half. But the second half, they started very well. They were good within their structure. They responded. And for me, they were the more promising looking side over the first 20, 25 minutes of that second half until they ran out of steam. And they got another goal. Achara again. I love this goal because not only the quality, the composure to turn in the middle of the park for a player that doesn't traditionally play there, to pick out his man, to work that ball to Soteldo, but the effort to get up the field and find space. And he was rewarded by Soteldo by a great little hesitation, great ball back to Achara, one of the longest give and goes that you'll see. And Achara gets his second goal on the season. And it was a great goal, Terry. And it was 1-1 at that time. And you're thinking, okay, maybe they can hang on. Maybe just your thoughts on the goal, because it was a really good one.
My detail, I guess, in the goal that I shared with the academy players is a lot of players, once Charles played that sweet slip past this Soteldo into space, will just sit there and go, wow, that was a good pass. Nice pass. Rather than, like you say, let's connect the world's longest ball pass and continue that run into the box. And for a second, he hesitates. You know what? Soteldo's going to do his thing 1v1. I'm just going to watch him here. But Achara continues a powerful run into the box and gets his just rewards. And I thought at that point, Michael Bradley was outstanding too in midfield, really driving the team forward.
Just maybe a little bit. Well, it's on topic, but venturing off the game a little bit. We've seen Achara play all across attacking positions. What do you think he actually is? Like, what do you think his best position is, and how Toronto FC can fully maximize what this player can bring to the table for them, going forward?
What is he? That's a tough one.
He's like a unicorn out there.
He's a pain in the ass to mark, because those hard yards of running in behind is what he brings to the table. And he can do that from different spots. He can do it from deep. He can do it living on the front line, higher up the pitch. And defenders hate to run in behind. And TFC, a lot of players love to get the ball with feet. And I think what Achara brings is hard running in behind. And sometimes he always doesn't get rewarded for that, but it does create space for others. And there's not many in the squad. I think Richie will run in behind at times. I think Soteldo only really runs in behind when he's going to get the ball.
Io when he's fit. I think that Pat Mullins does a little bit. I think his running's good off the ball as well.
But Achara's runs are so effective.
Yes.
The point about Pat, we miss that from Io, especially in transition, him living up really high up the field. But I'd say that part of his game, he can play anywhere across the front line.
Yeah, that's what will be interesting to see what happens with the coaching going forward, who comes in and what philosophy they'll bring to the table. I think that will go a long way to determining how the player is used. But certainly there's a role for him on the team going forward. When the team's full strength, whether it's starting, whether it's coming off the bench, he can still be a significant weapon for this TFC side.
You remember Dominic Aduro, the pizza man?
I do.
The pizza
How
guy?
can we forget Aduro? I think he's still playing, isn't he?
Okay, my bad. But eventually he starts to get that reputation around the league of running in behind and softening that back line. And what that does is it'll naturally create an affordance for Pozuelo to start receiving it in the gap as well.
Right.
A real important player.
Does he still play? No, he does not. Last time he played was 2018 for the San Jose Earthquakes in MLS. So I thought he was still playing. It just, whenever I saw a team sheet, it just like Dominic Oduro's playing again. But the pizza man, brilliant. From there, Terry, TFC was just kind of overrun in the end. It was a great goal by Torres and Montreal, wasn't it? The ball coming down the right-hand side. Torres goes top corner, an unsavable shot. Then Kyoto turns Gonzalez inside out, that running behind it, just hoping that doesn't happen. Honduras v. Canada, because he missed 10 games with a hamstring injury. Montreal's a different team with him in it. And same goes for Honduras as well. Much like Achara, that's where the danger comes, his ability to get in behind that back line. 3-1, game's over. Could have been 4, could have been 5, but really the team just kind of ran out of steam, didn't they?
Yeah, it's a tough one to concede, just because it's a little bit of a transition moment, the 2-1 goal. And I think if you look at the way Montreal are set up, they play with a back three. You've got Wanyama in there. You've got Piet. So they've really got 5 players behind the ball. So even with 10 men, you're actually okay against this Montreal side. You're worried of the threat of Chaudière kind of coming off the left-hand side, living in pockets. But one of their real threats is Broguillard getting up and down that right-hand side. And I think, his timing of the run, the pace and power he's got to get forward is what killed us. And I'd imagine the guys would know about that. So I think that's one weapon that Montreal has going into the game. It's one threat that you've got to stop if you're going to have success.
Yeah. And those are the areas, attacking from wide areas. When you're playing narrow with the man down, you need to be able to cover. I mean, it's a great finish by Torres, honestly. Secondary run, top of the box, top corner.
It's a
3-1
skill too, to let that ball run across your body and then just feel it into the top bag. And maybe on the third goal, Chris could have been a touch tighter. There's not a ton of space between the lines. And when we spoke about it on the pod the week before, just how good Mihailovic is between lines.
Yeah. I was thinking the same thing about Mavinga, because other than that, I thought he played a really good game. Yeah, I thought that Mavinga was a rock, but it's just these moments that continue to just haunt and just kill this TFC team.
Well, you're at 2-1 down, like you're up against it, and maybe that's, at 1-1 he's probably tight, but yeah, having Chris back in the side was huge.
Anything else on the game? 3-1 final. TFC now winless in 7.
No, my big takeaway from the game was I thought Michael was outstanding. I thought he was a beast. I thought the guys showed great grit and character, especially going down 1-0 with 10 men to kind of hang around and get back into the game. It took a couple good goals for Montreal to beat us, but I think it's something we can build on, regroup, big picture through this international break, and some big games for some of our players as well coming up.
Yeah. 3, 6, and 13, 15 points. By comparison, I mean, that's 22 games this season. This is how good that TFC were in 2020. They were 13, 5, and 5 on 44 points. So one more game played and 29 more points. And that 44 point level is going to be in and around what Toronto FC need to pick up in their next 12 games. So essentially need to go on and win 9 or 10 of those games of the 12 that are remaining. I know they're saying the right things. Achara post game, like the young man, he's doing his part, saying that he still believes that the playoffs is achievable, but you're going to need some kind of miracle for that to happen. Like, let's be honest here, Terry, like It's not only those 29, 30 points that are required, but you're going to have to jump over, 6-7 teams in the Eastern Conference. So it just looks like a little bit of a hill too steep to climb. I'm still with the season will come down to the Canadian Championship. If you go on and win it, you're back in the Champions League, you win hardware, you're the champions of this country, you achieve something on the season. Complete effort and focus needs to be put on maximizing this team in terms of their production and how they're performing in and around September 22nd and the rest of that competition. That has to be the priority at this point.
Yeah, for sure. Great point, man. It's kind of cool. So to where we're at right now in the mindset and how you deal with it. Ali Curtis brought in this new initiative. It's a mentorship program. Really cool. Once a month, a first team player will talk to all the academy kids on Zoom. And on Monday night, Alex Bono spoke to all the academy boys. It was awesome. It was very authentic. I know you and Alex have a great relationship. It was very real. It was passionate. There was some swearing, which probably kept the kids engaged, but our academy director was like, oh man. But Alex was awesome. And yeah, seriously. And some of the parents kind of sneak on, and but it's just a really great opportunity for our kids to hear from the guys living, what their dreams are, and we really dive into some topics about what's the changing room like, how do you bring together different backgrounds, but one of the questions we asked Alex is, what's the mindset right now coming into work? Obviously we're in a difficult spot, and my takeaway from it is there's two ways you can look at it, and every person's different. I'm glass half full, look big picture. If we can win 9 games, we're not that far away. We can still make the playoffs. We can win the Canada Cup. We can qualify for Qatar. That there's a lot of good stuff. And then the way Alex looked at it was a little bit different to maybe I would. And he was saying, in a moment like this, he just comes into work every single day, focuses on himself, does his work to the best he can, and really focuses on Alex before maybe looking after his teammate or looking at things big picture to make sure he's right, his process is right, so that if his number's called and he has to step in, he's ready to go. So he looks at it almost day to day, and I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I think that's something you could have learned from Michael Bradley, because there's going to be highs, there's going to be lows. Take care of yourself and then work through the process with the rest. So that methodology makes a lot of sense for me. And look, now with the remainder of the season, it's not just about the Canadian Championship, although that's a priority. It's about players performing and showing that they can be part of the solution here. 8 of the 12 games that are being played in MLS play are at BMO Field. 9, including the Canadian Championship game. There's a chance to impress your hometown supporters, reward their faith as well. And with a number of players, I believe off the books potentially at the end of this year, De Leon, Gallardo, Endo, Moro, a bunch of the young players need new contracts. They need to make an impression. I believe there's an option on Zavaletta's contract, and the list goes on of decisions that will have to be made at the end of the year. This is the time that as an individual working within the team concept, you need to go out and make an impression. And that's important for these young players' careers, right? And taking this TFC project forward. Look, this is Major League Soccer. I know that, a lot of people are disappointed, and rightfully so, about how the season's gone. So are those individuals at the club as well. But this is a league. It's not like the Premier League where City or United or Chelsea basically every year are atop the table. Things change quickly in Major League Soccer, very quickly. Atlanta United went from the penthouse to the outhouse like that. So it can absolutely happen, but you can jump right back on that horse and make your way right to the front of the pack very quickly as well. So it's going to take some shrewd moves, as well as the commitment of the players that are here right now to take a step forward and not let this kind of deter them or set them back. I'm looking at a player like right now in Alejandro Pozuelo. I want to see him step up for the rest of this season. Look, he's an MVP of this league. 9 goals, 10 assists last season. He was toying with the rest of MLS. We would sit here on this podcast and be like, can you believe that Paz did that? I know he's being hurt this year, but where is that same contribution? Where's that same flair? 1 goal and 4 assists. And this is a player that should be in the mix, a top 5 player in Major League Soccer every year. So there are certain individuals in this team that, quite frankly, we just need to see more from coming home the stretch. Playoffs or no playoffs, it's about the individuals to kind of step up and show their worth.
Yeah, really well put, man. Can they get going? And Ali Curtis in the front office too. I think when things get hard, you really are able to see, what's behind the curtain and
Yep.
Evaluate players' characters. And things are hard right now. Who are the guys that we can rely on? How can we get that core back together and continue to build?
Don't let this be the worst season in TFC history as well. 23 points in 2012. You're on 15 right now. Look, you have 2 games against FC Cincinnati. They're 2 points higher than you in the table. You have 2 games against Inter Miami. All of these home games. Don't let that happen. Make sure that you're on 30 points. There's far too much talent and ability in this side to be where they are right now. So I want to see. I think it's a good challenge to the players, because the coaching staff's obviously turned over, losing your head coach. Let's see if the players can band together and put something special here together over the course of the stretch run of the season. We'll get into TFC Cincinnati. That's coming up September 11th, but we'll do that next week after the international window, because we're right in it right now. Canada, Honduras, the first of 3 games in 7 days. It's insane. Is coming up Thursday night at BMO Field. We hope to see you down there. Terry and I will be down there as part of the One Soccer broadcast. Richie Larea and Jonathan Osorio, part of the Canadian team, but they aren't the only other Toronto FC players on international duty as World Cup qualifiers are going to be played. It's a sprint now to Qatar in 2022. Zavaleta with El Salvador, we'll see him at BMO Field next Wednesday night. Kamar Lawrence with a vastly improved Jamaican team. Mikel Antonio from West Ham is committed. Ethan Pinnock, a very good defender with Brentford's part of that team. Man, CONCACAF qualifying is going to be tough. Chris Mavinga is off with Congo playing African World Cup qualifying. And Jefferson Soteldo is with Venezuela. So those are the 6 players that are off on international duty. Our main focus for the duration will be on Canada, because Terry, as a player who represented Canada with distinction, these are the moments, I'm sure, as a player that you were relishing. This is what the fans, this is what everyone involved has been waiting for. 14 meaningful games between now and March, and it all gets started on Thursday night.
Oh, let's go. I woke up yesterday so excited. Canada's training at BMO Training Ground. So I was up there watching the guys. We're hoping to get to BMO Field today. And man, there's so much momentum right now. We'll talk about Canada, I guess, to start. It's we've got such an exciting team right now, and there's a real opportunity to continue growing our sport. I think it's bigger than our team and getting to Qatar. I think we're trying to inspire a country right now. We saw what the women did at the Olympics. It's unprecedented times. I love the fact that the first game's against Honduras, and maybe we can exercise some demons from 2012. That's when the last road ended, I guess, or trying to get to Brazil. I was part of that. It hurt. I was on the bench. It's so cool. Atiba played against Honduras. He's going to be part of the Canadian squad. I imagine that'll be a big part of the mindset piece. Is putting things right and getting after Honduras.
That's going to be the first step. The 3-match window. This is unprecedented as well. 3 games in 7 days. There's going to be some serious rotation required in the side to make sure that you're fresh and raring to go. This is really going to be a complete team effort. This isn't just like, here are, your first 11. Alfonso go out and play 270 plus minutes over a week. It can't be like that, Terry. This is going to take a real team commitment and a proper approach by John Herdman and his coaching staff.
Yeah. The big game against the U.S. on Sunday, and then you wrap up against El Salvador. I think what you can do as well is you can really not only look for freshness, is you can find the right players that are the right fit for each opponent as well. Who's right for Honduras? We go away to the U.S. Which players can maybe help us at least come away from a point there. The home games are going to be so important. And then we've got weapons for El Salvador back at BMO Field. So I'd be looking at not only freshness wheels, but also the right personnel for each game as well.
You need to win your home games. The top 3 teams out of the 8 go on and qualify for Qatar. The 4th place team goes into an intercontinental playoff. That's a proper term for it. So you're just going to play another team from another federation, try to get into Qatar through the back door. So top 3 is important. That's why these home games are so big. That's why they need you, the fan, you, the listener, at BMO Field, supporting this team, getting behind them. This is the first home match in our country since 2019, Canada 2, United States 0. We were down there calling that game. It's been that long.
What a game.
Like this team has gone on this run playing in front of no one or hostile crowds over the course of World Cup qualifying the Gold Cup. Now we're back and we need to feel that, right? Like you need to back the players and make sure there is some sort of tangible home field advantage here.
Yeah. And, when BMO Field is rocking, man, it's such a special place. And, I know it's tough. There's times after and I are, thinking, man, we should probably go see some friends or get out to a restaurant. But you're in that like COVID kind of coma almost. Oh, it's easy to just watch it on TV. Let's watch the broadcast. Or, but think of all those times during COVID where you're like, man, I wish I had TFC. Man, I wish I could go to a game at BMO Field. Well, here's your opportunity. And, I think filling that stadium from a technical side to help the team's important. From the financial side, it's important. And the guys on the field are doing everything they can to give you a really good product. And so fans, if you can, please try to come out and support the guys. They need your help right now.
What excites you the most about this Canadian team? Is there a player? Is it players? Is it the collective? What is it, Terry?
Good question. Players for sure. I'm sparked by Johnny David. I'm sparked by Alfonso Davies. Eustachio in midfield. So there's some key players out there. Tejon Buchanan. I love watching Oso and the pride he has when he wears that Canadian shirt. Richie Larea is a weapon for us. So some of the personnel, sorry to all the guys I left out. Mark Anthony Kayra. I could go right through.
You can't list the entire team.
We're
here all day
right now. And then I think we cruised through the first round of World Cup qualifying, scored like close to 40 goals, conceded maybe just 1. Then we come into the Gold Cup wheels, and it's we almost get a pass at the Gold Cup because our focus is September. Our focus is the Octagon. But we come into that Gold Cup with, we have a pretty good squad. We're missing a couple of players. Let's grow through this tournament. Let's see where we can go. By the end of the Gold Cup, we could have won it. And, if we get to the U.S. in the final, I have no doubt Canada stuffs the U.S. And in that semifinal game against Mexico, I think the frustrations at the end of the game weren't in the moment, I'm pissed off at what happened, or the frustrations are Mexico took away what was ours. We should have gotten to the final. We should have got into extra time. If we get to extra time, I have no doubt we go and beat Mexico. And there was almost like a sigh of relief in that stadium amongst the Mexican fans that were like, oh, you know what? We got let off the hook here. And, I thought it was there for us by the end of the tournament to go and win the Gold Cup. And the depth and the players that stood up at the Gold Cup, they're going to be so important come September, October, and November.
We're just 3-4 weeks out from that. And I think that actually plays in Canada's favor, where I know the analytical type will roll their eyes at momentum, but there's something real about it here. And they call it a brotherhood. The fact that no Davies, no David, Laren went out, no Boria, no Atakubi, no Atiba. Go down the list of key players that weren't there. No Scott Kennedy. This group was able to come together and show that they belong, right? And they're earning respect. And you're right. They should have gone on to win that game. So I think there is something tangible there in terms of the turnover. Let's speak to Oso and Larea specifically as their TFC players. What do you see their roles being in this Canada team?
I think Osorio, especially with Scotty Arfield, not in the mix at the moment, is probably Atiba might be captain, but he's one of the real leaders in this group.
Absolutely.
And I think John will be strategic how he uses them. In a perfect world, Oso would play every minute. I think John will pick the games that are best for Oso and best for the team. I think so. That is his role. When I say, and I've said it before on the broadcast, he's a quarterback of the team. Maybe not a quarterback from deep, but he brings together the team like a quarterback does in all four moments, whether it's transition, defending, or attacking. He's that key piece to Canada, that cog, important in the changing room as well. I think Richie Larea, with the depth of Davies, with Tejon Buchanan right now, Alistair Johnston can play in that wingback role. I think you can keep him fresh and use that weapon whenever you see best fit. It was cool yesterday seeing him at the training ground. We gave each other a little thumbs up. We were both trying to be cool. But he had a real skip to his step coming into training yesterday, a big smile on his face. And I think that's cool. I think he can play down the left or down the right as well.
The fullback, what did Canada become this fullback factory? Who knows how John will play? He can play in a 4-4-2, can play in a 3-4-3, can play in a 3-5-2. Like, we've seen different iterations and things change as the game goes on. But you mentioned it, players who can play fullback for this team: Atakubi, Davies, Buchanan, Larea, Johnston. It's ridiculous. Zachary Broguier, you were mentioning how good he was. He can't even get into this team right now. I mean, it's just such a strength of this group and the ability to attack and rotate from wide areas. They're going to cause teams nightmares. And I still maintain this. I said this on One Soccer the other day. Canada potentially has the best attacking three in all of CONCACAF. With David, Laren, and Davies, if he plays higher up the field, I mean, Richie Larea on a podcast with Christian Jack mentioned that, Alphonso Davies is the best player in this region. And the thing is, Terry, he can play anywhere. Like, he can play forward, he can play at the back. Like, he's just such a weapon in so many different ways. And just think about that. Canada having the best attacking three in all of this region. It's wild because the American team, they've earned it. They're the top team in this region right now. They just spanked Mexico all summer long. Mexico has something to prove, but Canada have the makings of a team that can go on and play at that level. It's incredible.
And that's why you got to get down to BMO Field. This front line is so dynamic. It's so good. I bring Junior Hoylett into that conversation.
Yes.
Time he stepped onto the field for Canada. He brings something a little bit different, operating in between lines. We're good. We've got depth out wide. One of John Herdman's superpower is he's a million steps ahead. Maybe this is why he brought the box in, knowing that we've got so much. We're so dynamic. We've got depth down the widths as well. So, it's exciting. It's a great brand of soccer. You said we can play different systems. That's a big part of Canada's ID as well, is being adaptable depending on who we play.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult for other teams to prepare.
Yeah.
What about Honduras? We'll leave the United States and El Salvador because a lot will be predicated on what happens on Thursday night. But Honduras, can you give our listeners a little bit of a scouting report, what to expect when it comes to their opponent on Thursday?
Well, we just before we jumped on this pod, we were talking about it. We don't want to give away too much because we have a little bit of information, and especially at the international level, that they're tapping everything. They're listening to everything. And I don't want to give Honduras.
Hello, Honduras.
Why did you use a ghost voice?
They would have turned off. I was trying to scare them. They would have turned this off a long time ago.
But it's crazy, man. Like at the training ground yesterday, I'm looking around. I'm looking for drones up in the sky. It's cool, man. We're living it now. So what I'd say is, just looking at Honduras, in short, they don't create a ton of chances in open play. They've played maybe 12 games this year. Their expected goals is way lower than the opponent. Their weapons or where they score from is when they smell blood and they see a team just struggling on the build, they've got a nasty press that'll come. And also sitting in a low block, their system more times than not, so 4-2-3-1. They're difficult to break down. And then with a bit of pace up top, player Kyoto, who plays for Montreal, they're quite good at countering from deep. So they look to intervene. And in 2 passes, the ball's in the back of the net. So I think that's something, our attacking balance and looking after the ball is going to be important, and beating their press.
Alberto Elise is out through injury. He's not playing, just signed with Bordeaux, formerly of Houston Dynamo. So their attack might be a little bit more labored. We talk about 38-year-old Atiba Hutchinson playing for Canada. 38-year-old Maynard Figueroa. He's like your age, Terry, and he's still playing at center back. I can just see David and Davies running at a player your age, with all due respect. Good luck. And they did concede goals. Like, look, I actually think this Honduras team is going to be in the mix, for a top 3 spot. We saw what their under 23s did, qualifying for the Olympics at the same time. Kind of like Canada, they're doing battle on 2 fronts during the Olympics and the Gold Cup, so they didn't have their full squad. But this is going to be a real challenge for Canada, and a good marker out of the gate. I think that Honduras and Jamaica are going to be right there with Canada, battling for a top 3 spot.
They're a tougher opponent than what we might think. They'll be stubborn to break down. They'll pick up points for sure away from home. And I like what you said. I think they're a good marker. I think from a mind, like that, there's a nice storyline behind the 8-1 and how you can tie that together. But it's, man, it's match day -1. We're so close.
Let's go. I've been doing some extra stretching. I'm ready to go as well. It should be fun. Our One Soccer crew is down there all day long on Thursday with One Soccer today in the build up to the match and complete match coverage. So look forward to that. Game 2 against the United States goes Sunday night. You can watch that on TSN before the team comes home. Wednesday night against El Salvador, also a One Soccer broadcast. And look, if you can make it down to BMO Field either Thursday or Wednesday, we encourage that. The tickets are pricey, but hey, the way I look at it is Alphonso Davies is worth the price of admission, and celebrating and supporting your national team. It's not a bad cherry on top either. So anything else this week, Terry? Are you good to go?
No, all good. All good. I'll see you down at BMO Field in a couple hours.
We'll see you down there. And if you're down there, Toronto, make sure that you come say hello as well. Don't be a stranger. This has been Come On You Reds on behalf of our producer, Erica, on behalf of Terry Dunfield. Not on his motorcycle today, but he'll be driving it down, riding it down to BMO. Maybe I'll just jump on the back. We're like Dumb and Dumber, Harry and Lloyd, getting down to the game. I am Gareth Wheeler, and this has been Come On You Reds.